recently it came out that about Sasha Banks and Sammy Guevara. I believe that's how you say his last name, Sammy Guevara, who's part of AEW, and some comments he has made in 2016 and during a podcast came out, and I listened to the audio, and I'm gonna read off basically what he said. And he said that he was like, bro, Sasha Banks, and he said, oh my God, when I was at WWE the other week, I just wanted to, and he said the F word, explicit or an expletive, and he said, rape that woman. And that was his comments towards Sasha Banks, and they recently resurfaced. And of course, he's been receiving much backlash for those comments he made in 2016. But since then, since those comments had resurfaced, he has apologized. But not only that, AEW has suspended him. But I'm gonna read off his apology to start off. He said, I've made stupid, inappropriate, and extremely offensive comments in my past. I am truly sorry for my hurtful words and actions. I will never forgive myself. And then he also said, I also want to apologize to Sasha Banks for my unacceptable comments. She's an amazing person who didn't deserve to be the brunt of my offensive remarks. I spoke with her earlier, and she helped me learn a gigantic lesson, and I thank her for that. Once again, I'm sincerely sorry. So that was his tweets after the backlash, and basically he apologized, and he said that he's talking to Sasha Banks, And also I'm going to read off AEW, what they written, I believe, on their social media accounts. They said, AEW insists on doing our part to create a world of understanding and respect for humankind. We therefore strongly condemn the extreme offensive and hurtful words of Sammy Guevara. As such, effective immediately, Sammy is suspended without pay until further notice. Sammy has agreed to undergo extensive sensitivity training, and upon completion, his future status within the company will be reevaluated. So during his suspension, his salary will be donated to the Women's Center of Jacksonville. So I want to get your thoughts on everything that's taken place with Sammy Guevara's comments that he has said about Sasha Banks, saying that he wanted to rape Sasha Banks, and then the backlash that has happened since his comments, and even Sasha Banks has made a statement also about it. But let me get your thoughts on it, and then I'm gonna read off her statement.
I think this is gonna be a bit careless of me, but I'm gonna say what I got to say. But the way I feel about it is, I find it awfully convenient that someone wants to bring something up like this, especially when he's on his high rise, just to tear him down. I feel like that was just somebody looking for a problem, but understandably so. He said that on the podcast, and as somebody who's going to be going into entertainment, you got to be a lot more thoughtful about what you say, not just to protect yourself, but to pretty much make sure you don't step on anybody else's toes, due to the fact there are a lot more eyes are going to be on you, and there are going to be people who are going to be there looking to tear you down or find a reason why you should not be liked, just because of the fact that these are the people that are inhabiting pretty much our world at this point, because social media is becoming a much bigger thing, and a lot of more people will find gratification in being a online social justice warrior, and just wanting to tear down somebody's lives just because of the fact they are not the perfect idealistic person, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But how I feel about Sammy, I feel like what he said was I feel like what he says was pretty bad, but then it's understanding if you give it context. He said that in a real casual environment, he was comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand in that type of talk, yeah, and especially how I understand that kind of talk, especially growing up in this Xbox 360 kind of era, where talk like that is pretty common. But in 2016, you got to be a lot more, best way I can put it, you got to be a lot more cautious about what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And and on top of that, this went on. So he said this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
With more given context. So and that was a long time ago. He probably forgot what he said too. So I'm just, in my point of view, I'm it became a problem once he mentioned it, and you wanted to make it a problem. But at the same time, though, unfortunately he had to be he had to unfortunately he had to be the guy that has to represent for this issue, so he has to be punished as such and disciplined as such. Would I agree of taking him off TV? Probably. And it is what it is at this point, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he's getting sensitivity training and all that, but it is what it is. But what are your thoughts, Steve?
I would say first off, I'm gonna just be very realistic with this. Being a man and then just knowing how we talk about women, this type of thing that's the way men talk about women in certain ways, and that's just being realistic. But I will say this: using the word rape is always too far, and the word rape should never be used. Even if you're talking about like how you like this woman or like this lady or whatever the case may be, what some people may call like this like locker room talk, even though I don't like quoting Donald Trump. Actually, I wish I just did not even say that because I don't like quoting Donald Trump, but it's the truth. Some people just naturally talk like this, and he was talking about it very casually on the podcast. Now, my point is, I want just to get this across to people. I don't bash him. Obviously, people make mistakes, but I do want people to understand, young kids or kids growing up, the word rape shouldn't ever be used in a light way like he used it. He was using it very casually. It should never be used that way. Because there are women that actually there are women that get raped. There are people that get raped. So it's like rape is a very serious thing, and it should never be joked about in a sense, or just said even casually like that. I was kind of surprised that he even said it that comfortably on a podcast, because to me, I would think all this is being recorded. Like, you're that comfortable? But that being said, I don't believe in giving him a like backlash and all that type of stuff. Obviously, I believe like we should learn from it, and he's going to learn from it. And because of this happened, he's going to learn from it. And maybe that's the reason why it's a positive thing of why he received all this backlash, because if he didn't receive this backlash, then he probably it wouldn't have never been brought up, and he would have never really learned from it. But now he's going to learn from it. And then not only that, because this happened, a lot of people are going to learn from it as well, seeing that you can't joke around or say lightly, you can't speak about rape in that type of way. But I did want to have another question for you. On a side note, I don't believe in kind of like bashing people for things they said years ago. Now, of course, in this case, maybe it is a positive thing that it was brought to light again, because ultimately kids and people of celebrities or people just in general can learn that you shouldn't joke around or say casually speaking about rape or things like that. But on a side note, I'm like, I don't know about how I feel about, talking about people saying comments that they said years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and then it's like resurfacing, like as if people don't change. I don't know exactly how I feel about that, but in this case, I guess it was meant. I guess it could be used in a positive way, because not only does he learn from it, but ultimately everyone and kids can learn from it as well. That you shouldn't, joke around or say casually or just speak casually about rape. But also, I want to read off what Sasha Banks written as well. She written a statement. She said, "Earlier, I spoke with Sammy. He apologized, and we had an open discussion. Words like the comments he made, jokingly or not, have absolutely no place in our society. I don't condone or tolerate this kind of behavior. What one thinks is just a side comment can have a massive impact on someone else's life and can send the wrong message. We have to hold ourselves accountable for our actions and the words we say. And I hope this situation shows him that. I hope from this point on, in order for growth and change within our community to take place, we all can continue to have these conversations. No person, man, woman, or child should ever be subjected to a feeling of fear or any unsafe environment. we all have to do better, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. So that's what Sasha Banks said. That was her statement about the situation. So tell me what you think about her statement.
I believe that's a very like spokesperson way to go about it. Personally, I would like to hear the conversation she had with him. I think that would be a lot more honest and stuff like that. Because I like transparency. I would like to understand how did the conversation go down and how did Sammy go about how he talked to Sasha. Because after that, we'll probably get a very good understanding of Sammy's character. Behind the scenes, and I would much more love to hear that versus just pretty much the statement she gave out. But I don't feel like it's bad, so yeah.
Actually, I mean, I agree with Sasha Banks. That basically my whole point, and what I already said about it is the reason why this has to be addressed is for the younger generation can see that this will not be tolerated, pretty much. So even though Sammy said something in 2016, it was 4 years ago, even though he didn't probably have to even mean it exactly, and I don't believe he actually meant it, but obviously I don't know who Sammy's I don't know his character or whatnot, but I don't believe he actually meant it. But that being said, it still can't be tolerated, and ultimately, the reason why he's being suspended, the reason why he's receiving this backlash is to let the younger generation and people overall that this will not be tolerated in our society anymore. Because I know this talk probably goes on, did go on a lot in the past, and it probably still goes on a lot now. So it's just like everything is changing in our world, and obviously it shouldn't be tolerated. But if Sammy learns from it, then obviously I'm not gonna jump on a hate train and just continue bashing him. He's gonna learn from it, and move on. Just don't do it again. Continue to move on, and then ultimately, then it works itself out. But for the younger generation, make sure that you don't jokingly say, talk about rape or anything like that. But that's how I feel about it.